Hi guys, and welcome to another Train Sim 2024 video. And what a banger it's going to be! Very excited about this. This is, of course, the Class 43 MTU HST pack from Armstrong Powerhouse. I've been kindly given it to have a look at in a little preview for you, so you guys can get a video out when this goes out. And also, if you're watching this on the day I release the video, I'm streaming it tonight live over on Twitch from 7 PM. I've thrown this in at the deep end. I have had to read through the manual because the manual in this is intense, seriously intense. So the way we're going to play this video is, let me pause this scenario for now, is we're doing a cold and dark start because it is just looks so cool. I've been reading up on it. Still not 100% with it, but I've read it through once, kind of. We'll read it through as we go anyway. We'll do the cold and dark. We'll drive a bit of this scenario. Might even drive the whole lot of this scenario and do a little bit of manual read through. I'm not going to read through the whole manual because it would take me about 2 days. I'm going to pick out the key points of everything because AP are very good at giving descriptions on what everything does. I'll give you a gist of it, but the manual will be available for you to read anyway when the product goes out to launch. So you'll be able to read up on that yourselves. I'll tell you what I think, and then we'll kind of go from there. Don't worry about the scenario timings or my driving. We're not here for that for this, really. I'm going to do a lot of playing about, a lot of messing about outside, a lot of messing about the cab. I'll miss AWS. I'll miss the DSD. I will probably do all of those in succession. Right. Let's just jump in straight away to the cold start before we do anything else. Get it started, get it moving, then we'll do the talking. Well, I'll talk you through the cold start, of course. Right. What does cold start mean? Cold start means the power car is in the following state when it loads. Main reservoir and brakes and depressions are at 0 and engine is shut down. To prepare the HST from cold, please follow the instructions below. Move to what will be the rear power car when you head out onto the main line. I'm guessing that's going to be the one behind me. I'm going to hazard a guess at. Then we're going to master key, shift W, move reverse to engine only. Cut to AWS. I'm going to start engine with the Z key. Z for your Americans. Press and hold in this. I should have held it till the light went out, really, but you know. Now we're going to turn the electric train supply on to ETS by holding the train supply on button on the train supply until the indicator illuminates. That's over here. Sounds nice. Now you need to wait for the compressor to build the air in the main reservoir. If you need to quicken up this process, move the brake test switch to test, the reverse to forward, turn off the DRA and move the power handle to notch 5. It will rev the engine up without applying power. The compressor is directly linked to the engine, so when the engine revs fast, the compressor also does, which builds the air pressure faster. Brake test switch actually works. That's a new one. That's nice. Okay, so DRA off, into forward. And we'll build up pressure. Sounds already very nice. Yeah, the compressor ticking away there as well. Look good as well. Look at the rounding on those headlights, man. Nice. Little way to go at the minute. It's got brake test procedure in here as well, which I'm really liking. So we'll do a brake test. Right, we have brake pressure, main res pressure. So I'll find where we were. So when the main reservoir reaches 6.5 bar, you have sufficient air to obtain a brake release and are ready to carry out a brake test. If you have moved the power handle away from off, return it. We've done that. If you'd rather not carry out the brake test, skip to 15. This wouldn't be an option in reality, but the simulator, sometimes you just want to get down to business. I get that. I want to do the brake test. Right, ensuring the brake test switch is in test, and parking brake is on. Parking brake is on. Switch is in test. Move the brake handle to run and observe brake pipe the brake pipe pressure rises to 5.1 bar. Do I need to be an engine only for this? So as my state test, parking brake on, move the brake hand to run, observe brake pressure 5.1 bar. So I'm guessing that's in test. It's going to engine only. Parking brake is on. Switch is in test. Power handle is in off. What have I not done? Just make sure that parking brake is on. It's saying it's on. Let's put you back to normal and then test. Try the reverse it in. I need my DRA back on. I'm wondering, do I need to set up the ATP for this? Let's just try doing that. And we'll see if we get brake release. I can test it, should override it, but I'm not sure. We'll have a look. It's all part of the fun. So once we've done that, we're going to go up step by step. When we reach full service, we'll press the emergency brake plunger, lift it, pull the brake pressure back, and brake handle back. I've only briefly read up on the ATP thing. I think it has to say OK, doesn't it? There we go. Right, and then I think I go into here. Oh, I've not played with this. Ah. Right, I've enabled it with a hotkey for now. Let me just go down to the bit about ATP. So the on button is flashing. On button is flashing. This is how big the manual is. I'm literally zooming around the manual to try and find where it says how to do this. So we now should go over here. Make up a number. And then it's the ENT button. And then we are 2 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 10. Is that right? Yes. Enter. Right, okay, ATP is now ready. That should be good. Let's see if we can get a brake release. Yeah, there we go. I don't know if that's meant to have happened, but it has. Right, then we're gonna step by step up to, it's gone to 5.1. I'm gonna go step by step up. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6 full service. Dump the brake. That's done that. Pressure falls to 0. Lift, and that should return to 3.35. Perfect, and then back to running position. Observe we fall to 0. Sorry, 5.1. The brakes and the pressures drop to 0. Right, next we are going to activate DSD, move the reverse to forward, and then we're going to press E. Holding E, within 6 seconds, observe that the air brake pipe pressure begins to fall to 0 bar. As soon as you observe this, move the reverse to off and ensure air brake pipe pressure continues to fall to 0, okay? Done that. Right, now we can move the test switch back to normal. Release parking brake. I will hold this one till the light comes on. Parking brake off, waiting for the parking brake indicator to go. If an ATP fit power car, then the parking brake off button will illuminate when the parking brake is released. So that's fine. Move the brake handle to full service. Now we've got to move to the other power car. So I'm guessing off and key out. No, not what I meant to press. Now we're in this power car. Lost where I was. Right, insert mouse key with Shift W. Engine only. Self-test. See, it says to do the ATP fitted stuff now. You must do it to obtain a brake release. So I may have messed that up. Probably have. But let's do that now. So press the on button. Let's have some lights on that. While doing that, we can get our GSMR sorted. We are 2 Yankee 03. God knows what our signal ahead is. Let's just go for 585. Wait for that to... I can see why he says give 15 minutes for a cold start. I love it, though. Right. Now we need to go back over here. I think that I have bonked this up a little bit. That should be flashing, sorry, over here. It's not flashing. Now it is. So, 1, 2, 3, enter. 10, enter. Standard, yes. Enter. Effect confirmation. Yes. Enter. Right, that's that done. Okay. ATP's now done. GSMR's done. Not going to do another brake test. We've done that. Right, we are, once we've got our headlights on, of course, we are good to go. Yes! Okay. Let's get into forward, DRA off. Brakes aren't coming down. Why not? What have I not done? I haven't got the 2 lines there, have I? Done the self-test. Done this. Got that illuminated. GSMR is set. DRA is off. Brake test switch is in normal. It's got the general fault light coming up. I reckon I've messed about with the ATP. So just gonna turn that on, put it there. Do full supervision. That should be it. No! I would have messed it up with doing the ATP stuff. Let's just turn ATP off. Nothing else I'm missing, is there? No. Oh! No! I know exactly what it is. I'm an idiot. It's parking brake. I can't build up main res pressure with a parking brake on. See, I should just thought about the simple things first for going over to the complex things. Now I might have really messed it up. Yeah, now my brakes are coming off now. See, I told you this is a complex beast. And the brake release is quite slow on this. We'll read into that in a minute. Right, rim forward, brakes have come off. Wait till I get under 2 bar of pressure. He's got it moving, I think. Yes! I don't know why I'm so proud of that, because I've got a manual sitting in front of me, but you know, let's get onto the bad driving and talk about what is in this pack. So how to install, we've done. What's the speed limit? 15 here. I'll keep an eye on that. I'll do my best. Let's make sure my DSD is off on this as well. We will put it on for a bit, I'm sure. Keep it isolated. So we've got First Great Western Barbie, First Great Western Dynamic Lines, First Great Western Blue. That's also got the First Great Western logo, unbranded, and 125 group logo. Then we have GWR, the GWR logo, castle set, which has the GWR castle, unbranded GWR, unbranded castle. The following livery formations automatically apply to applicable power cars when using the variants. There's 43093, 43187, 43188. So dragging that, the BR Intercity 125 GWR, 43002, and BR Intercity 125 MTU 43002. Intercity Swallow GWR 43185, and Intercity Swallow MTU 43185. GNER, GNER 3 MTU. And then the following, again, the specials, there is 43290, 43367, XGNER, which has got the National Express East Coast, then National Express East Coast, and I'm speeding, with the East Coast logo without, National Express VTEC, East Coast VTEC, and then there's the VTEC liveries, Golden Spanner logo, VTEC 2, LNER logo, unbranded, East Midlands Railways logo, Network Rail logo, Colas Rail logo. We're about halfway through the liveries, I think. No, we're quite far through the liveries. The following livery variations again automatically apply. 43274, that's Spirit of Sunderland. 43300, Craigentily 100. 43318 is the 40 years. And then there's the VTEC East Midlands Railway, the Flying Tomato one with the bits. And then there's the total red one, which is 43238. So you have one with the logo and one with East Midlands, LNER logo and East Midlands logo. Arriva Cross Country logo, unbranded, and Colas Rail logo. BR Intercity 125, Arriva Cross Country. BR Intercity Executive, Arriva Cross Country. BR Intercity Swallow, Arriva Cross Country. Grand Central logo, Grand Central and Arriva DB logos. Oh, single yellow. Midland Main Line blue. East Midlands trains revised, front numbers, no front numbers. And that's the buffered variant as well with that. 10 coming up here as well. Earlier than posted. We're on a bit of a gradient as well here. I'll go into the gradient thing because that's quite interesting. Oh, that's very interesting. Then we have East Midlands Railway, the purple, with the logo and the Colas Rail logo. Intercity Swallow EMR, Scott Rail, Rail Adventure, Network Rail NR1, Network Rail 2 with the Network Rail logo and unbranded, Network Rail 3, Network Rail 4, Network Rail and Colas Rail. Still going to pull me down quite a lot, yeah. Just get out of this 10 mile an hour bit and then we'll have a closer look. Oh, I've got the fault light on. See my little general fault light came up there? We'll come on to the reasons that might have been in a bit. Got 25, and by the looks of things, super zoomy, we've got green. I'll just make sure that it definitely is my green. Yes. Okay, external variations to the Class 43. A number of external variations have been modelled to represent the differences between individual power cars. These automatically apply in the simulator. So there's nameplates, cooler group differences with the Voith cooler group, the brush cooler group, and then cab door windows. These are the original, with the fully sort of wide. What I can do here as well is that. That doesn't show up externally, by the way. And then the revised, which has got the drop light window in it. This is a drop light. Some of these were drop light, I'm sure they were. And then there's the split window one. Green in there as well. It's fine. Buffers. So in the late 80s, 8 power cars were fitted to allow them to access DVTs. As we all know from the 91 project, they are modelled as well. Light clusters. Upon conversion to use the MTU engines, all power cars are fitted with new light clusters when 43072 and 43074 transferred from East Midlands trains to East Coast and fitted with an MTU engine. They retained their light clusters. Brighter lights and top marker light were also fitted to the rail of edge power cars allowed to operate in Europe. That's the Cyclops light. It's there on these, in this power car, but not there on the exterior. That's the cab variants. Feels so nice to drive. So nice to drive. It absolutely wheezes all over physics of a lot of trains out there so far, and I drove it for like a minute yesterday, and I've just done this bit here. Is that my 8 there? No. Go for the end of the platform. Oh, I'm going to have to get used to these brakes. Oh God, I'll take that. I'll take that. It's off as well, and then we'll go down and take a look at the doors open and listen to the sounds of that. Variable opening on the doors. Nice. Sound that you don't hear very often nowadays, isn't it? Also use this excuse to have a little perv at the coaches as well. So you can hear this one's revving higher with a ETS on. Looking crisp. It's also the right roof detail. Ivory does a lot of work for us. He has made these for a couple of packs before, and Rich has got them in here, so it's nice to see those in as well. I don't know particularly exactly which ones it is, because he has done so many different little variants of these. It's unreal. But they look good. Right, so you've got the standard Midland Mainline 3 light and the bright top lighter. Then you've got light cluster, surround, edge, no edge, edge, and then top marker on the new measurement train. And you've also got the camera on the bottom, or on the nose for the new measurement train as well. So cooler group stuff. I'm going to whiz through things while we're stopped here because we've got a little bit of time. In the 1980s, the Eastern Region Power Cars, a selection of cooler group grills removed to provide easy access coolant refill point. This never became a region-wide modification, but has remained on the relevant power cars ever since. I don't think this is one of them. No, so it's got like a little cutout in the cooler group, like here, ish. Right, so Mark III variants. I'm not going to go through. We got a guard that's door's not closed there, I think. That's just one of the AI bugs in TS. Please don't think that's necessarily a bug with a pack. AI trains and leaving the doors open is pretty common in TS. Right, so variants, I'm just going through the variants. There's trailer car composite, there's trailer car catering composite, trailer car catering composite sliding door, trailer first disabled, trailer first disabled sliding door, trailer guard first buffet, trailer guard standard sliding door, trailer restaurant first buffet, trailer restaurant first buffet, trailer restaurant first buffet. Distance. It's what different numbering: 407XX and 408XX. Trailer restaurant standard buffet, trailer standard. And then another trailer stand, different numberings. Trailer stand, another sliding doors. Trailer standard disabled. Trailer stand disabled, East Coast and Arriva. Trailer standard disabled sliding door. Trailer standard miniature buffet. So you've got. I don't think there's a variant missed for the HSTs there. Again, I'm no expert on the Mark IIIs, the HST trailers, to be honest with you. But it sounds like the ones I would expect to be there are there, like the miniature buffet and the disabled variants and that sort of thing. Yeah, like I said, Ivor could tell you by different window configs and all sorts. I'm sure some of you guys out there can as well. And if there is a fault with it, I'm sure you'll spot it. But to my eye, it all looks golden at the minute. So, cab variants. So, sorry about that. Cab variants is... Oh, we're good to go as well. I just had to pause the recording for a second while I went and did something, but it's all sorted now. Right, okay, into forward. Bring me brake down. Just up to 25 again here. So you've got the standard variant, which is the variant is used on all non-Great Western region power cars except ScotRail and Midland Mainline Blue 43159, which are ex-Great Western. Then you've got the Great Western ATP fit cab, which is what I've got here. It's got a slightly more interesting cab with ATP, so I thought it was best to show you. I would much prefer to be bombing up the East Coast Mainline, but that's by the by. That'll be on the stream later. So cab-wise, I mean, it's very pretty. It's really, really pretty. Is that my... That's not my red. Slight panic there. Green there as well, so... Let's just get through the hassly bits before I start reading a bit more. But we'll look at the cab while we're doing this. So, most buttons have functionality. The couple that don't, like the warning light, the hazard lights... Flash doesn't work on a key press. What else did I find? Oh, I didn't do my driver guard buzzers because I would have heard that. I missed them. These are all there. So this is instrument lights, I think, on the spare, but it's there. That one does windscreen de-icer, and that's the train supply. That's that light, isn't it? bright or dim. Isolators, I do work. They work. They're just not. They don't come up with a hand. Aircon, no. Then a lot of these are unused down here anyway. Gauge dimmer. Why did I think that worked? Okay, gauge dimmer doesn't work. Engine start course works, and engine stop works. You've got your brightness on here. You've got your different buttons on your ATP, which I won't claim to know what I'm doing with those at the minute. One of them's shunt, and I can't remember what the other one does. And then there's an isolate button as well. They are clickable. I don't want to mess them about now, though, because I think I've messed up the ATP enough already. So texture-wise, this is very, very nice. Very, very nice. And I can compare it to the ATS cab pack, the GST and ATS cab pack. There are bits in this I like, and there are bits in ours I like. So I think it's going to come down to personal preference. It's loud. I've still got my brake on. That wasn't very helpful, was it? I'll have some hot brakes there. So we're consistently pulling about 1500 amps there. That'll come into something else we talk about. Keyboard controls that won't go through, you can use those yourself. Physics. So great care has been taken to simulate distinctive powering and braking characteristics to make trains such a challenge to drive. As any driver will tell you, it also makes it one of the most rewarding as a result. This section details what is simulated and how this dictates how the HST should be driven. So, just to put something on, I spent some time up at LSL last week, and the lovely guy who was showing us around and talking said that the HST is one of the most comfortable trains to drive out there. So I take it from him. I'll take that from him. So traction, you've got engine RPM. Accurate engine RPM figures are used for each power notch. This varies depending on whether the power car is supplying ETS or not. So each notch has the varied differentials between the RPMs. Load timings. This is where this starts to get really interesting. When revving up from notch to notch 5, it takes around 20 seconds for full power to be supplied. Due to this lag, it's by no means unusual to begin applying power before actually needing it to accelerate, especially at speed. When revving down to notch 2, 3 or 4, amps reduce gently, broadly in sync with the engine RPM. When moving to notch 1, amps reduce much quicker if the driver requires a quicker reduction in power. Moving to off then removes power altogether almost instantly. As a result, it's recommended that when reducing power, you move not to notch 1 and wait at least 5 seconds before moving to off. I will forget to do that constantly. So as to reduce wear on the electrical breaker. To provide an even smoother ride for passengers, move to notch 2, wait for the amps to settle, and then move to notch 1, wait for the amps to settle, and then to off. So you are going to have to drive this. If you're driving it realistically, you're going to have to think about these things in advance. Tractive effort. TSR, just catch me out and we're going in the flow there. Brakes are really interesting. Gotta be even from just driving this in the little bit I have, you're anticipating. You're thinking ahead a lot more than a lot of other trains. There's a few out there in the TS world that do this, but this does it incredibly well. See, I've lost 5 miles an hour there, whereas the old pack I would have still been hovering around 60. Let's get to the end of this. So The Class 43 is rather unusual for being diesel-electric locomotive with no field diverts. This is because, unlike most locomotives which need flexibility to haul a variety of loads, the Class 43, that's us out of it. Class 43 is designed for a specific job of hauling 4 or so Mark III coaches, an unusually light load at high speed. As a result, track 4 or so, so it means castle sets and the bigger sets. As a result, starting tractive effort at low speeds can be reduced, which brings the benefit of tractive effort reducing a lot slower as speed rises, allowing the HSTs to reach 125 mph. This reduction in tractive effort reduces the amount of back EMF. If you're into model railways, you'll understand what that means as well. What field diverts are designed to reduce, which therefore negates the need for field diverts. Also, the fact that Class 43 has an alternator instead of a generator means that a higher voltage can be applied to the traction motors without the risk of flashovers, which also helps to counter the opposing effect of back EMF. It's like when motors are... I'm not going to pretend to explain it now. You know what it means. Look it up if you need to. Well, hang on. What's this mean in practice? Well, whilst the Class 43 can feel slow to accelerate at first, tractive effort stays constant until 35 mph. Traditional locomotive traction effort tends to fall off between 10 to 15. So by the time you reach the speed, you start to feel as though you're making good progress. So until you get into about 35, it's going to feel quite sluggish. Which it kind of does. This unusually high speed does mean that Class 43s are particularly prone to wheel slip. As adhesion reduces, as speed increases, so as adhesion reduces as the speed increases, you might experience wheel slip higher. As a result, don't be fooled into thinking that because you're over 15 to 20 mile an hour, you're less likely to slip. It's the opposite, with the highest chance being at 35 miles per hour. This also means that you might experience slips at high speeds, such as 90 mile per hour, which is all part of the unique character of this train. Varied performance. Any driver will tell you that traction performance can vary quite noticeably from one HST set to another, depending on mechanical variations between each power car. We've simulated this in variance by randomly allocating a power factor every time you drive the HST in the simulator. This is calculated for each power car separately and can increase or reduce performance by up to 10%. The ammeter is a good way of gauging how powerful this particular power car you're driving is. When applying full tractive effort below 35 mile an hour in notch 5, a weak power car will pull a measly 1500 amps, whilst a strong power car will pull 1800 amps. Remember though, as the leading power car is only half the story, the real one will also have its own characteristics, which you'll need to gauge by just assessing the feel of the train. We are halfway through the manual, and I'm speeding, and supposed to be stopping here, which we're not going to, because we're not going to be able to. Now see you later. As I said, we're not here for the scenario. Right, one engine only operation, traction motor isolating, tapping out notches. So the redundancy of having two power cars has often been used as a get out jail free card to keep service running with reduced performance. The traction physics of both power cars in the set are calculated completely independent in this pack, which allows us to provide the option to run with only one power car. Pairs of traction motors can also be isolated, as well as the tapping out of notches, which in reality prevents power being taken above a certain power notch simply by a piece of electrical tape over the contacts on the speed-proofing relay to stop them energising a notch in the engine governor. All these features are achieved by adding values to the power car number, which is detailed in the numbering section of the manual, etc, etc. Overspeed trip, so if you go over 132, it'll cut out. Hot water temperature. So TS has no grasp of this, but AP have put it in, so there is a difference between the cooler groups and how they react when the engine gets to over temperature, how this looks, how this is affected. It happens in a set amount, one in whatever. So the faster fan cooler group spins, the higher the cool performance. Engine load, the higher load in the engine, the more heat is created. This operates on a delay, so if going from notch 5, for example, takes 60 seconds of full heat in effect, this power change to take effect. And then there's also random factors as for both fan speed and engine load factor, random multipliers calculated to simulate varying levels of mechanical condition. I'm running out of breath. Where some cooler groups will run more effectively than others, some engines will produce more heat than others. That's a random factor. We will try and stop at Yatton. And I'm already quite fast. Give me a second to get my breath back before I faint. So things that will affect it: ambient temperature, season, ambient affected time of day, and coolant temperature. See, I've over-egged that a bit, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. Or, you know, I might do something silly like run through a station that I'm meant to be stopping at. Braking so different. I find it hard to explain. And the sounds, it really feels so in depth. I'm stopping ahead of the platform here, and I. +7. We want 2 + 8. Big jump for the passengers, but we stopped. It's all right. Let's get the doors open there. So of course, SDO. Luckily we got a pull away earlier on. Right, so talking still about the cooling stuff. Please note sustain running speeds of 110 mile an hour or more with at least 7 coaches during an afternoon in the summer. That's when you're most likely to experience any temperature issues. The engine doesn't really have to be working hard. The engine really does have to be working hard for a sustained period to heat up to critical levels. So something you rarely experience. This is intentional. There's a 1 in 50 chance of PowerCar having a faulty thermostat, which keeps the fans running on constantly. So what will happen when this happens, honestly, it will either cut out notches, so you can't go over a certain notch, or... yeah, I think it cuts out notches. Or it will stop you being able to take notch 5 until the temperature's cooled down, or stop you being able to take power completely until the temperature's cooled down. How long it is? I don't know. Wheel slip. Okay, so there's original and then there's brush electric upgrades. Power is quick, so on the original, power is quickly reduced. And the wheel slip indicator light illuminates in the cab. Engine RPM doesn't change, only the load is removed. Once the wheel slip stops, power is reapplied quickly to the notch selected on the power handle, and the wheel slip indicator light extinguishes. Wheel slip occurs, it restarts. With the brush electrical upgrade, power is quickly reduced, the wheel slip indicator light illuminates in the cab. Engine RPM does not change, only the load is removed. And then once the wheel slip stops, approximately 50% of the selected power notch is reapplied quickly, and the wheel slip indicator light extinguishes. The remaining power is then slowly reapplied. That's nice. As a driver, you must assess what it's going to be. Wheel slip is calculated separately on each power car, so it's perfectly possible for one to be slipping and not the other. And it's simulated in the audio, both physics and the audio of the pack. If the real power car is slipping, the wheel slip indicator light will illuminate in the leading cab. Also note for those who are interested in this kind of thing, like all of us, engine RPM does rise momentarily when the load is removed during wheel slip, as the engine is suddenly being asked to do a lot less than it needs, a second or so for it to catch up. Adhesion, we know what this is. This is the same sort of thing. Season, weather, time of day, tunnels, same stuff as we know with the AP packs previously. Brakes and air system. This is again quite a system in itself. And this, I don't think's been simulated before in this sort of level. So whilst the Class 43 is a little slow applying power, the real skills driving HST is in their braking. Yep, I can agree with that. For HSTs to be able to run at 125 mile an hour within the constraints of the existing signalling system, it is required for the brakes to apply quickly to ensure the train can suitably reduce its speed. There we go. Now I need to click over here. Brakes on below 2 there. It's twice I've nearly left. Well, once I've left the brake on, and twice, that's the second time I've nearly left it on. First I've nearly left it on, should I say. Let's go for a notch 5, pull away. Oh! Yes! You can hear the cooler group, you can hear the traction motors. Lovely. Right, so the brakes, so we're talking about having it, we're at both power cars, slowing down in time. To facilitate this, the brake is applied simultaneously from both ends of the E70 or DW2 brake control unit in each power car. From moving the brake handle to bogey brake pressure being applied, there is only a 1 second delay. If going from release to full service, it takes around 8 seconds to reach full braking force. Releasing the brakes. In contrast to applying the brakes, are only released from the leading power car and as a result are painfully slow. Moving the brake handle to bogey brake pressure dropping, there's about a 4 second delay, and if moving from full service to release, for example, there's a further 15 or so second delay until the brakes are fully released, with the rate of decrease reducing as pressure nears zero. This is where the ability to anticipate is vital. You'll need to move the brake handle to release the brake a good while before the brake force is actually reduced. In the days before defensive driving strategies, boo, as written in here, it was not uncommon to see an HST thundering into a station with full service brake application, stopping just as the brakes were nearly released. This ensured both a smooth stop whilst keeping to time on what were back then tighter timetables. See if you can master that skill, it says here. Emergency brake, unlike modern trains, Class 43 is surprisingly flexible when it comes to emergency brake application, unless you miss an AWS warning, which calls the TPWS brake application. Oh, that was close. I wasn't clicked on the stream. And we're supposed to be stopping at wall as well. I don't think this has been put into tracing before. I know I'm skipping ahead. But we have high. We have soft as well. High, low on both. And that's done with spacebar and Control B or Control spacebar. Again, I've over-egged that. So the emergency brake will release when you come to a stop. You don't need to wait for the train. Oh, it will release whilst on the move. You don't need to wait for it to come to a stop unless it's a TPWS activation. Brake far too early. Variable performance, so braking, we've had this before. That's all simulated, so you've got to get the feel of it. 10% either way. Parking brake. Brake pipe pressure cannot be created when the parking brake is on. That's why I couldn't get the brakes off earlier. We've seen that in action. Compressors recharge the main reservoir when it falls below 8.5 bar, cuts out at 10. The compressor is linked to the engine, so that depends on how Everything is. You know what I mean? So there's a random air leak factor, and there's another multiplier which applied on a per power car basis. The compressor is directly linked, so that's also on a variable as well. Related modification in the MTU era allowed the compressor to run on a shutdown power car if it started and supplying. Hang on, I'm trying to stop and read, and I think that my stop marker is actually all the way up there, but I'm not going to worry about that. If you're driving the lean power car, then shut down, you will hear a rather eerie sound of the compressor winding up and down in sync with the rear power car's engine RPM. That's pretty mad. So it uses the ETS to run the compressor. Gradients. Right, I'm swiftly running out of time to do this video. So gradients. By default, in Train Sim Classic, gradients of only 1 in 185 or steeper have gravitation effect on the train. And this is only suitably realistic on gradients of approximately 1 in 25 or of steeper. This means on gradients shallower than 1 in 125, the train does not experience the gravitational force. Gravitational forces upon it. To demonstrate how significant this is, there's an 8-mile 1 in 200 uphill gradient between Alexandra Palace and Potters Bar on the East Coast Main out of London. In reality, a 2+9 HST set on this gradient cannot reach much over 90 miles per hour. Was a flat gradient, the same HST would be nearing 125 by Potters Bar. As a result, if relying on the default implementation of gradients, which treats a 1 in 200 as flat, an HST in the simulator would be going far too quickly. This is where it gets clever. Try again. With this information in hand, we've managed to get rid of this limitation by making the train invisibly power or brake itself to simulate the effect that gravity has when Train Sim Classic by default doesn't do. This is all invisible to you as the player, so you won't suddenly find the power or brake handles moving without your say-so, but it does mean you have to drive to the gradients of the route a lot more than before, just like a real driver. Especially on mainline routes where gradients rarely reach severity where Train Sim Classic has them behave realistically, you'll now find that if trying to recreate a real timetable run, your timings will match much more closely. So I never knew this. I never knew this. But I do now. Next, we're going to come on to automatic train protection. Following number of instance safety systems introduced to Great Western Main Line. We know about that. For this purposes, so the pack's only on the Great Western between Paddington and Bristol, as far as I remember, but for the purpose of this pack, it can be used on any route. So you need to press it on. We could have went through it earlier, so I'm not going to go into too much to it. Just to let you know, it is in depth with the data entry panel and all of that. It is by far the most in-depth simulation we've had of ATP yet. So I'm really pleased to see that. There's different modes, partial supervision, full supervision. I'll do a video on this later on. There's also shunt mode. We have NRN as well as GSMR. Dynamic exhaust effects. So we know about these. Control Shift C and C for those as usual. Exhaust cam I've showed you. ETS. There's quite a bit about ETS in here. Read up on it. DVD we know about. Dead variant means you can add a dead variant to it. Cold start we've done. Audio, so the engine sounds are recorded from the 125 Group 43159 at the Midland Railway Centre, and they have attempted to capture every nuance of the MTU 16V4000 R41R engine. So a load. As mentioned in the physics section above, Class 43s are quite unusual in maintaining constant tractive effort until 35 mph. I've got 60, so I'm not going to go too much faster. To maintain this tractive effort, the voltage being demanded from the alternator, what creates electricity from the rotation of the engine, has to increase as speed increases from 0 to 35. As a result, whilst the engine RPM stays the same, assuming the driver doesn't change the power notch, the load on the engine continually increasing from 0 to 35. This is why the turbocharger doesn't reach its maximum speed or pitch until 35 mph. Something much more noticeable with the old Valenta engines was still audible on MTUs, audible on the MTUs. The sound of the engine itself changes as it works harder. Counterintuitively, perhaps, it sounds more raspy, rattly with a lower load, and once it reaches full load at 35 mph, it's a smoother, more boomy sound that the MTU unit is known for, which it is. Selection of rev-up sounds are included to represent the engine revving up under different load conditions. For example, going from off to notch 5 from a standing start sounds a lot more pedestrian than at 35 mph or above when the engine's taking a much higher load. Possibly the clearest way of hearing this for yourself is at 35 mph or above. That I'm not going to make because we're actually coming up to Western Supermare, and I'm going to be tripped by ATP as well. So I think this is only on partial supervision anyway. Yeah. See, my pressure's back up. My brake cylinders. Look at my brake cylinder pressures. So yeah, where I'd usually have came off the brake to get to 25, it took about to 12 mile an hour. So different revs. So what are we saying? Select notch power 1 from off, and hear the R note change the amps build up. RPM stays the same, about 750, so it changes the load. Single bank firing. MTU engines are fitted with single bank firing, which is when they're idling, only half of the engine cylinders are firing. You may have heard this while standing next to a power car and the engine note suddenly changes. The reason for this is with all cylinders firing on large engines such as the MTU engine, it's actually doing very little and just ticking over. As a result, fuel is liable to slide down the cylinders and collect in the oil sump, diluting the oil in the process. So I think this was a fault with them at the beginning. I don't think that single bank firing, I think that was a mod. I don't know if that was from new. But it'll activate, so upon selecting notch 1, all 60 cylinders will start firing when it's done it. So it'll drop down, then start back up if you're idling. You might hear it when you're driving, basically. Cooler group, there is the pre-MTU, it's not the Marston one, is it? The Seric, sorry. Let me stop, because I continue waffling on before we end it. Both Voith and brush cooler groups are audibly represented, whilst not as raucous as the Marston or Seric predecessors, the pre-MTU era, they're still worthy of an explanation. When a certain coolant temperature is reached, the coolant group fan activates. The speed which this runs governed by two factors, coolant temperature and engine speed. The warmer the coolant, the faster the fan will try to run. And I've lost some speed. Warmer the coolant, the faster the engine will try and run. However, when activated, the fan is directly driven by the engine, so even if the coolant is running hot, it can only run at the desired speed if the engine is also running at high enough speed to provide the necessary force. This is why cooler groups are often heard revving up and down in sync with the engines. Brakes. So there's all the differences. I'm going to try and get through this as quick as I can. So I'm sorry, Richard, because I know the sounds are your bit. So it's Davis Metcalfe E70 or Westinghouse DW2 brake distributor. E70 is the most common from new and fitted to the first 151 power cars, and has a completely different sound. Originally made a loud haunting whoosh as the brakes applied, but in the early 2000s, following completion trials about volume in the cab, the silencer was fitted. Silence version of the DW2 as well as the E70 that are represented in this pack. The interchange between power cars, so it wasn't long before you could hear either in each power car. Fast forward to the MTU era, an effort was made to group all the DW2s of Great Western region. So this pack, you'll only have a chance of hearing this in Great Western power cars. First Great Western had 119 MTU'd power cars. So with approximately only 46 DW2 brake units having been produced, there's around 40% chance you hear the DW2 on Great Western power car. This also applies to ScotRail, where many of these power cars ended up. Compressors, there are different compressors where 23% chance of one having a rarer Westinghouse. Horn. So we'll do the horn stuff before I open the doors. So I think the scenario finishes here. Yeah, so I'm not going to open the doors and finish just yet. As is the case with much older rolling stock, show off this bit, won't we? I haven't looked at this. I like it. Considering this, I like it. I like it. Yes, no, that's decent. Yeah, they've turned out much better than I thought they were going to. As in the case of much older rolling stock, every horn tends to sound different between power cars. To simulate this, we provided 6 horn variations under the guise of horn factor. Upon loading a scenario, your power car will be randomly allocated one of these horns. If you wish to change it, you can use Shift or Control H. Shift, Control H, or Control H. In addition to soft and loud tones provided, the loud tones are controlled by using the usual space and B, while the soft tones are controlled by using Control Space and Control B. Power cars, it tells you what power cars the horns are recorded from. Traction motors, so you've got motor factor 1 to 6, which is really nice. Cab, on the whole, the cab sounds do what they say on the tin. There are a couple of items to note. Western power cars have different sounding driver guards buzzers than others implemented. If driving for a power car with its engine shut down and the rear one supplying electric train supply, you'll still hear the air conditioning sound in the cab, which revs up and down with the engine RPM. And you're also hearing the sounds in the coach as well. You'll still hear air conditioning in the cab, which revs up and down. As the voltage supply from ETS goes from 274 volts with the engine as Ireland to 415 at power notch 5, because of course the HSTs have got a different ETS system than anything else on the railway. My favourite bit, of course, is Richard's Bits and Bobs. Let's speed through these really quickly, guys. AI trains have their day or night headlights illuminate depending on time of day. Both power cars on an AI rev up, down, sync. Windscreen wipers on AI trains automatically turn on when it's raining. Speedometer needle drifts due to small inaccuracies in speed calculation not applicable to the ATP fitted cabs. Cab doors and windows can be opened to the outside sounds of the cab. These open doors windows only appear in the cab and are not reflected on the external model. There's a random delay between the doors closing and the guard giving the right way signal. AWS fault light in the cab desk extinguishes when you move the reverse away from off. Instrument lights illuminate when the reverse is moved away from off. That's why you don't need the switch. The reverser must be an engine only to start the engine. 1 second delay between AWS. Headlight only provides illumination, sunset, sunrise. We know that. Engine start button will start up both power cars in HST formation. The engine stop button will shut down both power cars in HST formation. The local stop button shuts down only the power car you're in. The engine start, stop, illuminator, indicator light if either power car or both power cars are shut down. Windscreen wiper cable, you would have noticed this wobbles in the wind, increasing in its intensity as speed increases. So we're now on to the Mark IIIs, which we're in now. This looks like it could have been planned, doesn't it? On coaches with the original slam door, each door is individually scripted and opens close at random times, meaning that very rarely will all doors open at once, just like reality. The only exception is the guard's door on the trailer guard's second, which means remains open the whole time. CDL, central door locking. In the early 1990s, central door locking was fitted to prevent the doors being able to be opened on the move. Both original LED variants of the accompanying bodyside indicators are included in this pack. Also, after the doors close, there is a delay of a few seconds before the indicator light extinguishes upon locking, simulating the delay in the guard doing this. Finally, if you listen closely to the doors, you'll hear the locking bolt move. Coach letters are represented on all applicable liveries this pack, barring out of the ordinary formations. This is automatically applied depending on the formation. The only exception is when using Grand Central revised livery, due to the HSTs rarely having their coaches in a consistent order and sometimes with no letters at all. Table lamps, awesome. So we're in first class on these, but don't have table lamps. But some of them, GNER had table lamps. Upon privatisation, table lamps were fitted to the GNER livery Mark IIIs for first class scene. The ex-Loco Hall Mark IIIs used with Grand Central also had lamps fitted in first class. These are simulated externally and only appear illuminated after sunset and before sunrise. Air suspension valves. So you have the squawk. Mark IIIs have a very distinctive sounding air suspension valve which has been simulated in great detail. When releasing air, they make a hissing sound as well as a whine. Upon loading scenario, each bogie on a coach is allocated a random pitch value. So they'll whine at different pitches as per reality. Jeez, the detail in this pack is unreal. So make a hissing sound and not whine, depending on how they are. How often the valve release air is scripted randomly depends on the speed curvature. It's more likely to sound at lower speeds when leaning into a curve on super elevated track. Jesus. There's a chance that upon stopping, a valve will continuously release air before slowly fading out in a warbling pitch. For the area represented in this pack, only Great Western ScotRail liveries whine. The rest were fitted with a silenced version of the valve which only hisses and no longer whines. Track wine, one of my favourite things, since not just the wine bit either, I don't really like wine. Since the advent of rail grinding, Mark IIIs have made a whining sound while it's moving almost like a traction motor, which increases in pitch as speed increases. It's difficult to pinpoint when exactly this sound became more prevalent, but we have made an educated guess of late 90s. Therefore, all liveries in this pack make the sound. In addition, only primary high-speed routes tend to give regular visits from such a rail grinder, so this sound tends not to be audible on secondary routes and branch lines. To try and account for this, if the limit of the line speed you're travelling on is below 80 mile an hour, you'll not hear it. What? Now, this is one of my favourite things, and I should have tried to show it off. I really should have tried to show it off, but I've been too busy with the manual to show it off. There will be another video on this back, don't worry. Flushing toilets. Yes, this is one for the wibblers. Oh, we're paying loads of money for flushing toilets. Oh, we don't need that. We could edit £3 cheaper. Yes, your eyes don't deceive you when we've been playing flushing toilets particle effect. On coaches not fitted for retention tanks above 15 mile an hour, each toilet will flush every 3 to 15 minutes. This functionality only activates once the doors have been opened in a scenario to try and prevent these effects incorrectly appearing on empty coaching stock services. Even that's cleverly done. These effects are also disabled in the network rail new measurement train. Whilst this also might seem rather silly, seeing this from the line size always added to the sense of speed. Do you know, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Seeing that sort of excrement and urine screaming down the side of the track did make it, you could see how fast it is. Sort of the particle effect coming up from the line, even though it's jobbies basically, it's still quite cool. You just had to remember to look away at the right moment. Yeah, that's what you said there. I like that. So passenger views, we have the TRFB, TRSB saloons, First Great Western Barbie, GNER and National Express, Grand Central, First Great Western Blue, First Great Western Railways, National Express East Coast, VTEC, LNER, VTEC, EMR, Plush Tush. All other vehicles have head-out view, perfect place to ensure the sights and sounds. Cycle through them, control left arrow or control right arrow. There's a bits and bobs section for the Mark IIIs alone. The frequency at which internal air conditioning sound activates and stays on is dependent on the season. The internal air conditioning sound revs up and down with the engine RPM of the power car supplying ETS. This is due to the air conditioning system being powered directly from the ETS, which varies in voltage depending on the engine RPM. Apart from the network rail new measurement train coaches, end data panels show the information per variant. Right. There's the driving guide and then the stuff and all the logos, all that jazz. Scenarios, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop moving the mouse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 scenarios. 1, 2, 3 on Midland Main Line. And 1, 2, 3 on South Western Expressway. I would have liked to have seen something done East Coast with this, not going to lie. But yeah. Right, okay. Pros and cons. Pros. You've seen them all. This is one of the most in-depth and thought-out packs I've driven, and one of the most in-depth and thought-out packs we have in TS Classic, so a big shout-out to AP for this one. Really, really impressive. This is like the ultimate turd polishing, because this is, of course, still the original Kuju model and original Kuju HST Mark IIIs, and you wouldn't know it to look at them. That is a something to be very proud of, I would say, especially these interior views. They look stunning. Cons. This gets rid of so many like different reskins people will need and all that jazz, especially just the MTUs. I know there's the VP185s and things like that need to be covered as well, but just alone, this alone takes away a lot of the aggro from them. Is there anything I think needed to be added? Not that I can think of just now. I'm quite in awe of this product at the minute. And do I think there's anything that I think we could have done without? No, it's all brilliant. It's all fun. I'm yet to see the flush and toilet stuff. I'm yet to experience a quarter. I've already experienced maybe a quarter of what this pack has to offer just in this scenario alone. But it is a first look. I'm driving it tonight on my stream, so I'll be driving it for several hours. I'll get a good look at everything more then. And then you guys will get another video on it very soon, I think. There's another video to come out after this, and then probably a video on this. So, price. $29.99 is the asking price. So that'll be available. I think this will be available the day after this video goes out, or the day of this video. I'm unsure at the moment. It is on the pricier side, but for what you get, I'm not really that fussed. I think in my eyes, it's well worth it. It's well worth it. It's going to be a way up when it comes out with the other packs as well. So is there going to be a discount for the VP185? Is there going to be a discount for the Valenta? Valenta's going to have so much different stuff that I don't know. There will be some things, of course, transferable, but I'm going to have to wait and see on that front. It is at the steeper end of pricing in TS Classic, but it's going to get more expensive the older the sim gets and the harder it is to develop for, and the more specialist it becomes. I think there's no doubt about that. So I've said this a million times before, and I'll say it again. If you don't want it, you can use the freeware reskins that are out there. That's fine. Stick to the old one. But if you want the best of the best out there for the HSTs at the moment, you've got this here. Okay then. I need to go and have a rest. I felt like I've had to read through that really quickly and sort of... I haven't taken it all in, if I'm completely honest. So I'm going to go away and do that. So once again, guys, thanks ever so much for watching. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Head over to alanthomsonsim.com for all your latest and greatest train sim needs. And also head over to AP for this. This should be out, as I said, today or the day after this video has gone live. So just have a look when this video went live if you need to know that information. So once again, guys, thanks ever so much. And I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.